Hi, everyone. I'm Steven Sigman.
And I'm Mike Messinio.
And this is the Weekly Movie Throwdown, a discussion show where each week we talk about a film that fits into our overall monthly theme. This month, we're talking noir, specifically films from Barbara Stanwyck and Veronica Lake. And this week, we're going to dig into Barbara Stanwyck with 1952's Clash by Night, directed by Fritz Lang. There's some debate as to whether this is noir or not. So I can't wait, Mike, to hear your thoughts on it, because I think you're going to lead toward not noir. Is that
you know
good?
me pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, that'll be the top of the discussion then. But before we get into it, let's talk about a little news.
Yeah, not much. Just pretty slow week. Just that the box office is still in crisis. Where last week was actually the worst week for box office in like 30 years, and the movie that ended up winning it, Falling Into You, I think it was called, it only made like $8 million. It was pretty much a bloodbath last week.
Is that the Allison Williams movie?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So
Colleen Hoover, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So you think even that would have done better, but it didn't. So again, a whole bunch of different kinds of movies have come out in the past few weeks, and none of them are getting seen. However, it looks like Predator is going to save the month, because that's on track to do really well. Which, again, so who knows? I mean, bringing back Predator, who would have thought? But I think Dan Trachtenberg has done a really good job of kind of reviving the Predator franchise. So I really enjoyed Prey. So I guess I could understand why people might want to go see this one, because Prey was a surprising hit. But yeah, so we're looking for Predator to help keep us afloat till Wicked. I think all eyes are on Wicked, kind of trying to save not only the month, but the quarter, and possibly the whole year. So
what the takeaway is that we don't want to see humans anymore, I guess, because Predator and Wicked are pretty much, I guess Wicked's humans, but who would have thought Predator would be the one to pull us out of the slump?
Yeah, I am surprised.
And like Predator 8 or whatever it is, it's not even like Predator 2. It's so far down the list, but you're right. I mean, Dan Trachtenberg, he's a great filmmaker. I mean, I really loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think that's the first film he did, and Prey was really great.
And this one is a PG-13. It's the first PG-13 Predator movie, which I thought was interesting to see. So,
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not sure if I'll see this movie.
I will probably see it, but I don't know if I'm going to go to the theater to see it. I just, I'm not sure. I've seen enough Predator movies. I've been a little, they're kind of hit or miss. I just don't know if it's enough to get me back into the theater. It's a couple other things. I'm kind of excited to go see Nuremberg, to be honest, which I guess speaks to who I am and probably how old I am. That Nuremberg seems very interesting to me.
Yeah.
But that movie's intriguing to me.
I think it's interesting that this will be kind of a good test for the Predator franchise, because Prey was released, if I remember correctly, specifically on Hulu.
It was. And
didn't have a theatrical run. So we'll see if Predator can sell tickets at the movie theater. It'll be interesting to see the results. Did you have any other stories that you wanted to mention?
No, that's it.
Just that same old story of the box office is terrible.
Yeah,
it's worth reporting on every week.
That is the story. It's always the story until something turns around.
Yeah. Well, the only story I have is it actually broke last week, but I missed it, and I feel like it's important to talk about on the show because it kind of ties to the show. And it's that cinematographer Adam Greenberg has passed away, and he might not be a name you know, but he's a name that is tied to a lot of amazing films, especially in the 80s and 90s. We've covered 3 of his films on this show. So Terminator 2, which he got an Oscar nomination for, Dave, and Ghost. He shot all of those. And all of those are like really well shot films. So I am not surprised.
Well shot films, but and also very different films though as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, wait till you hear the rest of his resume because it's all over the place. I mean, he goes from Terminator 2 and Alien Nation to Turner and Hooch, to Sister Act, Toys, Junior. Worked a lot with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Did both Terminator films, did Eraser, Collateral Damage, Snakes on a Plane. So he's really all over the map with the genres he works in, but he's always very good. So it leaves behind a very diverse and interesting filmography and just really good work across the board. So uh, rest in peace, Adam Greenberg. Yeah, that's really all we have for news this week. It's been slow, so let's get into talking about our film this week, Clash by Night. So the big question here, is this noir? It's the story of a woman who comes back from living, around the country,
Parts
sort of
unknown.
disillusioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sort of a miserable person. And to me, that alone makes it kind of noir. But she falls for sort of an unassuming fish captain who is like the sweetest guy, but his friend is the bad
Let's be
guy.
careful with the words "fall for."
Well, that's true. She settles for
Yeah, there you go.
the unassuming fishing boat captain, and he introduces her to his friend, Earl, who is not a nice guy, seems to kind of hate women, seems to kind of hate himself. And for this woman who is not happy being settled down, that's very alluring, despite the fact that she tries to push him away and settle into this life that she's decided to have for herself with this fishing captain Jerry. So there's no murder, which is a big thing in noir. But to me, it does have a lot of the other things that noir has. Let's hear
Yeah,
your thoughts.
yeah. I've read this back and forth, and some people definitely fall on the idea that it's noir, and even Turner Classic Movies, I guess, does. I just don't feel it. It kind of made me laugh. It's interesting that we didn't pick this. We could have picked the order that we were doing these in random, but doing this one on the heels of Gun for Hire is probably appropriate because last week I said to you that the one scene where you're getting backstory on the main character felt a little out of place. It felt a little bit like melodrama. And it's like this entire movie is melodrama. This is not it's not noir. It's melodrama. And to be honest, melodrama is kind of my least favorite kind of movie. Like I'm not gonna lie.
So
I
thumbs
find I
down.
find this to be I find these kind of movies to be overwrought, and I just thought that y- you can kind of understand the reasons the motivations for people doing what they're doing in this movie, but at the same time, it's hard to really believe that any of this is happening. It feels like a staged thing to give you drama. And I would say this. Yes, it's shot really well, and there are elements of it that make it look like noir because it's just such a great black and white movie. But part of that is just because Fritz Lang is the director, and he's always been good with light and shadow, and because he was a silent film director, there's a certain feel to it that's powerful. But I don't think that makes it noir necessarily. Again, Streetcar Named Desire was also based on a play, also black and white. Is that noir? This feels more like that than it does like any kind of classic noir movie to me. So I certainly wouldn't consider Streetcar Named Desire a noir, and I don't see why anyone would think this is noir. Interestingly enough, I found out that this is based on a play by Clifford Odets. Um, and they cut out probably the key part of the play
Yeah.
when they made the movie, and it does involve a death, which that would have possibly made it noir if they had kept that. And the reason they took it out is even sillier because it was because of the production codes back then. And it wasn't because of the murder. It was because it was detrimental to marriage. That back then you had to promote being married, the idea of marriages staying together. That was part of like what the production code was. So it's not murder that was the problem. It's that it would have blown up the marriage. And so they have to create the idea that they reconcile at the end and possibly stay together to promote the idea of marriage at the end, which I just think is crazy. And that's again what the movie feels like. It feels like a movie that's building to something that never actually happens, and it ends with a whimper, which in retrospect makes the entire movie almost more frustrating than it is normally. Because again, I hate melodrama. So that's my hot take.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with some of that, but to me, it does sort of have those noir elements that all of the other elements that aren't murder.
Self-loathing. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's definitely that.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about
there's
it.
self-loathing, there's betrayal, there's adultery, there's a femme fatale, or I guess in this case it's like an homme fatale, and
Yeah,
so look, all of those elements are there. It just doesn't have that murder, but
I'm
yeah,
not
I
even
mean,
sure if she's a femme fatale. She's just a self-loathing female character because she doesn't
no, I
necessarily.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
saying like a homme fatale, like in the Robert Ryan character
Okay.
Earl.
Okay.
So, and in fact, there's a great shot toward the end after everything erupts, where she is standing at the in the kitchen, and like the backs of both men, like she's between both men in the front of the frame, which I think is like a great way to just kind of show that she has to make this decision between the good guy and this sort of bad influence. And I really, really love that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I can see it both ways. Because I brought it to the show, I want to say that I feel like it does have so many noir elements to it. One thing about the murder is that uh, another thing that was going on around this time is the McCarthy era stuff. And so they didn't really want to draw attention to the film because Clifford Odette, who wrote the play, The Lie that it's based on, was kind of at the top of the list for Joe McCarthy, and it was very much like in his sights. So, despite the fact that they changed the title and uh, made it their own thing, he was still sort of part of it, and they just kind of wanted to avoid that. So, um, but yeah, we should point out that directed by Fritz Lang, as you said, which he has a great history in noir. That feels also, by the way, he was kind of worried about being on McCarthy's list as well. So that was another reason that change was made to no murder. I would have loved to have seen a murder, though, I tell you, because the whole thing was like building up with Jerry. Like, I can't lay my hands on someone, I'll kill them. It's like, well, then kill them.
Right.
Please
And that's what I
do.
mean. It telegraphs that that's where we're heading.
Yeah,
And then that
all the time.
it takes a different turn. It makes Jerry's character feel completely impotent, and it just kind of deflates the whole thing. Like I don't it makes his character in retrospect just feel like a sap, and
Yeah.
and that's not really cool because you see his anger building throughout the movie toward his uncle, toward her, toward Earl. I mean, it feels like it's got to break at some point.
Since you mentioned Uncle Vince, I have to ask you because like 5 minutes into his screen time, maybe I hope you feel the same way. All I could think of was Paulie from Rocky. I mean,
uh
doesn't he seem like the same character?
that's not a bad call. Yeah, I can see that.
A little more like devil on your shoulder than Paulie was, I think. But still, that's all I kept thinking is like freeloading from the sun. Didn't have much money, alcoholic. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even
Um,
if Jerry had hurt his uncle in some way, something. I just need some kind of release of the anger that is building up in Jerry because everyone's taking advantage of him.
yeah, all Jerry did was yell at Uncle Vince to take down the dirty pictures in his room.
Yeah, exactly.
That man, that right there is like just goofy. It's a big thing with this that it's produced by Jerry Wald and Norman Krasna, and they were known as the whiz kids in Hollywood because they were just so sharp with what they did. And they worked at Warner Brothers, and Jerry Wald wanted to get out of Warner's. So he struck a deal with RKO and Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes bought out his contract at Warner for like $150,000 or something. He took Norman Krasna with them. They just really wanted to do their own thing after working at Warner's for a while. And the thing with this is that Jerry Wald wanted this picture to be for Joan Crawford. He wanted to bring her with him
Huh.
from Warner's, but she turned it down. So they went to Barbara Stanwyck. And, you know, as noir goes, Barbara Stanwyck is kind of like what you think of, specifically because of Double Indemnity. But, you know, we're looking at Veronica Lake and her this month. And between the two, I think of Barbara Stanwyck way more than I think of Veronica Lake, just because of the filmography.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean, since you brought it up, uh, yeah, I think that Barbara Stanwyck is the best thing about this movie by far. I think that she's the thing that makes it really watchable for me. Although I actually think that if you turn off the sound and just watch the movie, it's a really beautiful movie to look at. But we'll get into that in a minute. But going back to Barbara Stanwyck, so this is the early 50s, and at this point, Barbara Stanwyck is, I mean, well established. Matter of fact, I think she was the highest paid actress of the 40s. So you're talking about someone who has just marquee name recognition. I mean, she's at the top of her game, and yeah, I think this is because it's a melodrama. As I said, I think in the wrong hands, and possibly in Joan Crawford's hands, it's hard to say. Someone could kind of chew this up, and it could become
absolutely.
almost unbearable. You could see it go that way,
I
and
mean, kind of does that already with the men.
right, yeah, you're right. And as thing, the men kind of overplay it, but Stanwyck, it's like she's just, yeah, she never tips it in that way. Like some of the dialogue is absurd, and that's how Clifford Odeth wrote. But she always keeps that kind of even keeled feel about it, while also projecting an intense amount of self-loathing. Um, so yeah. I mean, to me, she's absolutely the reason this movie holds together.
Absolutely. I think about Joan Crawford in that role, and I mean,
Could have been
wow.
a lot. Could have been a lot. Maybe it would have been fun. Maybe that's what the movie needed. I don't know.
I mean, I think that would just tip it completely in that direction. Barbara Stanwyck just really balances the two men, and without her there, that really goes like way off the rails, I think. In fact, she's probably the only person in this film, maybe Marilyn Monroe, who isn't like absolutely absurd. Every man in particular, like Joe the brother, is especially nuts and like very deliberate and over the top. And uh boy, yeah, just a lot of weird performances of overacting, I think. Robert Ryan, especially, who he was on payroll at RKO, so they put him in there. And I mean, he's like at the top of his game at this point, but he is just so over the top in this. Like that's the melodrama, I think. Like his
Yeah,
acting.
he's a lot. He's like a caricature of a person that hates himself and everybody else around him. But it it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of amusing. And Paul Douglas was a stage actor, uh, and I feel like he still thinks he's on the stage because he's just projecting a lot at all times. Um,
Yeah.
maybe that's how he was told to do it. I don't know.
You know,
But yeah,
prior to acting, he was a sportscaster.
was he really?
Yeah. So I
See,
don't know
that's
what
it. He's
that
got that
meant.
good voice. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like he would have been a football player, though. That was the first thing I thought when I saw him.
it's possible. Maybe he played
And
in
he talks
college or
about his
something. Yeah.
beef a lot. Like, he's like, I got all this beef. Yeah.
Oh, let's never talk about that again. That feels like a lot of dialogue best left in the 50s. Jesus.
There's a
Anyway.
lot of stuff in this film that should be left in the 50s.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like the casual violence and so
yeah,
so
there's a
okay. All right, so we can talk about you mentioned Marilyn Monroe. So interesting points about her in this. So this was the first time she was given billing above the title. It was she was fourth billing, but it was still above the title. So this was kind of the beginning of her stature growing. There's a lot of talk about how she always had trouble memorizing her dialogue, and that supposedly surfaced a lot in this movie. And Fritz Lang was kind of frustrated, but I it's hard to know because she's in quite a few long takes. One of the other interesting things about this movie, I think, and one of Lang's signatures is there are a lot of takes without cuts, just a lot of long shots, some dolly cut shots, and she's in more than one. So it's hard to understand like how much trouble she was having with her dialogue because she's in these long scenes, unless they had to redo them just umpteen times. I can't. It's hard to know for sure, but yeah, because those are complex shots. So eventually she gets through it. I think I think she does a good job in this movie, actually. And I think it's very easy to see how she became a huge star because she is just incredibly captivating, even in this movie. Um,
she's great.
yeah, but again, the relationship with her and her boyfriend, it's just all based around like casual violence where I mean, he's strangling her, she's always punching him. It's there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's very disturbing actually. Fritz Lang was kind of known to not be very nice to women. Barbara Stanwyck kind of protected Marilyn Monroe from Fritz Lang. I mean, Barbara Stanwyck was known to be a bit of a diva herself, but when it came to Marilyn, like the first scene they had together, Marilyn blew like 26 takes. And Barbara Stanwyck kind of set the tone by not freaking out. And that gave Fritz Lang an idea that like he should be cool to Marilyn. Barbara Stanwyck did say later that it was pretty difficult working with Marilyn, but on the set, she was very cool with her. And do you want to talk about the scandal that happened too?
Yeah, so that's that. I was reading about that as well. But you're right. Stanwyck did a lot to support Marilyn Monroe in this film, which is nice to hear. But right about the time that this broke, and you mentioning the taking down the nudie pictures on the wall,
Yeah.
people kind of laugh about that in retrospect too, because at this time, this is when those pinup pictures of Marilyn were released. That she had actually shot them in the 40s, but they had surfaced once her career started rising. So those nude pinup pictures come out, and it just creates obviously a giant. I mean, scandal is probably the right word, but just the media becomes frenzied about it, and so this entire production is just besieged by press trying to get comments on it, trying to talk to her about it, trying to get information about it. So it's a really difficult shoot for that reason. But again, Stanwyck doesn't freak out about it and show support for Monroe throughout the project, even though there's just this unnecessary chaos around the production.
Barbara Stanwyck had her own thing like this in the late 20s, early 30s, where she was a Ziegfeld girl and posed nude, and those photos leaked as well. And uh, she told Marilyn to do what she did, which was just lean into it and say, "Look, I needed money. I did this, and here we are." And it's interesting because Marilyn was on loan from 20th Century Fox for this film, so she wasn't under contract with RKO. And when there were kind of rumblings of these pictures existing, Fox did everything they could to keep it under wraps to kind of protect her. But RKO and Howard Hughes had they didn't know her or anything. And they leaked the story and leaked the photos as a way to drum up publicity for the film. So they totally threw her under the bus, which is terrible. I mean, like to do that to a woman but I guess, you watch the film and you see that like Howard Hughes and Fritz Lang maybe don't really care about women all that much. So they're happy to do that if it benefits them. Uh,
Yeah,
really
Howard
unfortunate.
Hughes not known as the best of people. So
Yeah. under his reign, RKO was losing like $200,000 a week or something. In order, sorry, in order to get uh, Wald and Krasno on board, he basically said that a lot of his employees were communists and fired them to free up money to bring them over to work on films for RKO. So, yeah, kind of a jerk. Yeah, not good. Uh, that's very unfortunate, but um, yeah, just a lot around this film that kind of set it set it down a bad path, and um, definitely want to get into the cinematography like we talked about because
Yeah, again, I think there's certain the best thing about this movie by far. I mean, besides Barbara Stanwyck, is just the look of this movie, and I feel like this is definitely again a movie you could watch without any of the sound on, and of course that makes perfect sense because Fritz Lang cut his teeth making silent movies, and there are so many sequences in this movie where you can see that skill is coming to the forefront. And the opening shot, which was supposedly filmed before anybody even showed up to the set. So the first thing being the play took place in Staten Island, and they moved it to a seaside town in California. And the whole opening sequence of just the boats and the sea and the birds, it's just beautiful to look at. I mean, it's just so it feels completely incongruous from the movie itself in a lot of ways.
yeah.
Like you're watching something, you're like, wait, what am I even watching? And then the movie starts, but it's very nice to look at. And then you realize that it is probably from a play because you get two distinct acts in this movie, and they're both separated by sequences of the fisherman sequences. So there's a clear act one and a clear act two, and act two takes place about a year after act one ends. But it's one of the few times I can think of where you can clearly see that it was a play, and it's two distinct halves of a movie.
Yeah, there are very few scenes in it. I went back and watched it again this morning, just kind of jumping around, and it's like you said, there are long takes and just not a lot of scenes, very few sets, so you can really see the play in it. It's interesting that you like that stuff at the beginning because all I could think of was that show, How Is This Made, where they go into factories and show you how
I
like
like that show.
Starburst
So
is
there you
made.
go. Like, yeah, I found it hypnotic after like just watching the fish come and they're moving them over. It was hypnotic. I found it very soothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that show too, and that's why I recognized it. I was like, "Oh, it's cloudy. Here's B-roll of the seals and the seagulls. Here's the fish being caught. Here's the fish on the conveyor belt. Here's Marilyn cutting up the fish." It's like all they needed was like a packaging segment where they put it in cans or something and shipped it out, and it would be just like that show.
Yeah, I won't lie. I feel like I could have watched an hour of that footage, and I could have gone without an hour of the movie. I could have just watched the fish scenes and the sea. I found that very very soothing.
There's probably a YouTube video or something that you can watch that's just that.
Maybe.
Like that would be there's also a moment like there's a lot of that B-roll stuff, particularly with like weather and clouds and stuff. And there's one point where
Yes. Again, wait. So I don't want to interrupt you, but again, melodrama. Exactly. Lots of
yeah.
shots of like the sea and the sky, and that to me is not noir. Again, it's just like there's all this stuff going on. Oh, look at her looking at the ocean. There's like, come
Yeah.
on now. Like you don't need to hit me over the head with the feelings that there's a rumbling coming. Even the name of the movie, Clash by Night, it's like doesn't even make any sense. I don't
Well,
know.
that was taken, they changed it from The Lie, which was the name of the Odette play. Clash by Night is the last line of a poem, I believe called Dover Beach, about the cliffs of Dover. But I was going to say that her looking out and seeing the clouds like that, is that like a metaphor for postpartum depression? Is that what she was going through at that point?
Possibly.
That's a beautiful shot, though. I mean, that starts on the left side of the room, pans over to Jerry sleeping, then to the baby, then to her at the window. I mean, there are just so many good shots in this, and I know Fritz Lang comes from the silent film world, and so he has that visual style. But the cinematographer on this is Nicholas Muscaraca, and I actually talked about him last week when we're saying how horror and noir were kind of coming up at the same time, and like leaning into the darkness and what it represents. And um, he shot Cat People, which is kind of like one of the best known horror films for using darkness to convey a lot of emotion. He also shot Out of the Past and The Spiral Staircase, both of which are just like incredibly beautiful films. So I think with Fritz Lang having that silent era sort of mentality and working with Muscaraca, like the two of them together, just there are so many notes that I wrote down on this about what an amazing shot this is. And like, I could just go through and list them, but there are too many because it's just such a good looking film. And that does a lot of the work, that really tells a lot of that story. I think it kind of shows the slow burn of like her just dealing with this life and like having to be a place she doesn't really want to be. And yeah, it's just kind of slow moving, and you sit in it, like those long takes and those just a lot of dialogue like that. Yeah, it's very play like, and uh noir or not, I had a lot of fun just watching it. So I
Again,
really loved
as I
it.
keep as I said, I do think it's a really good movie to look at. And you're right. I think it. I never really thought about silent film directors going into talking films, but Fritz Lang, knowing that and watching this, you can see all these little tricks of moving a story forward without needing to say anything. Again, he moves time really quickly. You can see the time jump, and he establishes that with no words, just in a few shots. There's just a lot of two shots with someone in the foreground, someone in the background. He plays with all those kinds of things, and it evokes feelings, and it's something you don't really think about until you start to analyze it, and you realize that all of this stuff is set up meticulously, and he understands how to convey feeling without words because he had to do that for a long time. And this is the first time it really stood out to me, being able to understand that the visual dialogue that you can create with film in that way. I mean, of course, there's lots of shots we talk about always about all the movies we love, but yeah, this is the first time it feels really pronounced, where you can pick out the idea of how he's trying to convey stuff without using words.
There's a great moment where Uncle Vince is basically enlightening Jerry to what's happening under his nose because he's so oblivious to it. And Uncle Vince is, like I said, like Paulie's kind of a devil on the shoulder of Jerry, but there's such a tight shot, like such a tight close up of Jerry in that moment, and then of Vince, and it is a wide shot for the most part throughout this scene, but then it's like this incredibly jarring like close up of each of them, and that totally jumped out at me as like, oh, like this is very important, and look at what's going on here. And it just created like this confinement for this important information, and uh, just one of many things, but that one was so like abrupt that it really stood out amongst everything else for me, and it's such an important moment.
Yeah, the other sequence that jumps out at me is when Jerry and May are on the boat, and it starts with a really wide shot where you're really apart from them. Mm, and then you start to see it slowly creep in, and it ends up with these really with the close-ups. Most of the scene is you kind of being on the outskirts of it, kind of watching it, and then at the end, like, you're right in their faces because it's moving. It's giving you the idea that their relationship is moving forward. So again, just these little tricks to convey things, and it ends with just like really intense close-ups, both of them.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, you can almost have like a cinematography class in watching this because it really like hits all the notes of like how you should convey certain things, and it's really cool. The writing is It was adapted by Alfred Hayes, and not all that notable, I don't think. I know he had to change like the murder, like we talked about from the Odette play, but um, he really sort of like makes it kind of lived in and regular, but all of these like Odette flourishes kind of come through because you can't really get rid of that theatrical dialogue like all the way. And Robert Ryan has a lot of lines that are just like no human would just say this, but they stand out so much because a lot of it is just very straightforward dialogue. Even for that time, it's very uh, sort of like natural, but every once in a while that play part kicks in with like one in particular to me is that he said his wife, one day he's going to stick her with pins to see if blood comes out or something. It was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
this
So
guy
yeah,
is
Odette
really not
wasn't known
happy.
for writing realistic dialogue. He was known for
Yeah,
writing theatrical dialogue, and
right.
that's what he's known for.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's the whole movie. You either like that kind of thing or you don't.
yeah. It's really funny, but it's kind of jarring because it sort of pops into this naturalistic style that Hayes kind of converted it to. And he's an interesting guy because I don't know that he did a lot of films, but he was a reporter at the New York Daily Mirror for a long time and kind of got into film writing. And he also wrote a poem about the IWW organizer Joe Hill, who was murdered. Um, I can't remember the name of it, but it was set to music eventually, and it became like this big protest anthem that was sung by Pete Seeger and Joan Baez, and that's kind of like his claim to fame because despite the fact that he worked on things in Italy later in life, like he worked on The Bicycle Thieves, which is
Oh wow.
like a really well known Italian film, but not a lot of American screenwriting on his part. Just this protest poem that became sort of an anthem for protest singers, which is kind of an interesting trajectory. So just worth pointing that out too. And I think
Yeah, that's interesting. And even Robert Ryan was known for his activism as much as his acting. But again, I guess that does speak to the time. I mean, because this is the early '50s, and we're dealing with the McCarthy stuff, and I guess it's not necessarily surprising that a few people from this period of time would be involved in protest movements.
yeah, yeah, and I mean they're all sort of like culminated on this film, which I guess is why it had sort of attention that they didn't want it to have necessarily from Joe McCarthy and his committee. So uh, you still could have put the murder in there, I think.
Yeah, I just think I probably would have liked it more if it had gone there. I still wouldn't think it's noir because I still feel like it's just too melodramatic for that. But at least it would have made more sense to me if you brought it to its natural conclusion.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll agree to disagree on the noir
That's
of it,
okay.
but
That's what we're here for. That's literally
yeah,
why we're here to disagree about these things. So I'm fine with that. But yeah,
yeah,
it said to me it felt much more like your dramatic stage plays than it crosses over into film noir. But it's fine. I actually think when I watched it a third time, I started liking it more. I think because I accepted it more for what it was as opposed to what I was expecting it to be. And again, I found it just such a visually mesmerizing film to look at that you can't help but appreciate that the more that you see it because you start picking out these little things as you go. So I can't. I'm not gonna say I hated the movie because I didn't hate it. I just certainly didn't love it, and I doubt it will be one that I reach for. Uh, when I'm looking for old noir movies to watch.
yeah. You'll be happy to know that the studio put out a box set of noir films, and this was included in it. And there's a director commentary with Peter Bogdanovich who like goes out of his way to say this is not noir on the commentary for this film in a box set of noir films. So I don't know if the studio was very happy about that, but
See
then there are
they
people like Megan Abbott who die on that hill of this is noir. So Uh, it's controversial.
That's fine. I never thought I'd say that, but I totally agree with Peter Bogdanovich. So there you go.
Yeah, what a guy. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with it?
Um, yeah, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Um, one, just how much smoking is in this movie, which just kind of jumped out at me. And I know, I mean, for the period of time, I don't know why it stood out to me in this particular movie, but there's a lot of smoking. My favorite part, though, is that she's going into the back of a film theater and she's smoking, and they're like, "You can't
Yeah.
smoke back here." It's like, yeah, you're just surrounded by celluloid. You're gonna,
Yeah.
we're all gonna burst into flame. Like, you can put that out. And I'm not even sure if that was in the play or not. I just kind of love that scene. It just made me laugh. It's just a 1950s kind of thing. Well, yeah, no, you
I
can't
was
smoke around all the film.
I was hoping that would be where Tarantino got the idea for the end of Inglourious Bastards. Like Jerry was gonna burn up Earl in that booth, the projection booth, because yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like this is not going to end well if you take that cigarette in there. One thing I noticed about the smoking is that they would all take like one drag and then throw the cigarette away,
Yeah,
like over and over again. So, and like Robert Ryan, Earl, like very coolly lights a cigarette for both of them. He has two cigarettes in his mouth, hands one to May, and she throws it away and lights her own cigarette.
yeah,
But then at the end, to show you how she's turned, she lights a cigarette for both of them on the beach. So
that is
that's a
true.
nice little thing. But even when, like right off the bat, when her brother Joe brings her coffee when she's back at the house, she's talking to Marilyn Monroe and she lights a cigarette and takes one drag and then like puts it in the cup of coffee. So not only are they smoking a lot, they're wasting a lot of cigarettes.
Yeah, I think cigarettes were so dirt cheap back then. You could waste them
Yeah.
if you wanted. Nowadays, you smoke it down to the nub, and it's like 20
Yeah.
bucks a pack. So you can't do that. Back then, cigarettes were dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Um,
Very wasteful.
throw them around. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that this was filmed on location as opposed to there was some back projection, but it's actually pretty hard to tell. They do a pretty good job of hiding it. You could pick it out in a couple of sequences, but for the most part, this was filmed on location. And I think that's worth noting because not a lot of movies were at this time. And you can definitely get the feel of what filming on location in black and white. I think there's just such a beauty of that. And you can see it of those nice black and white shots when you're actually on a location.
And what's interesting about that is RKO was hemorrhaging money, like I said, but it would cost more to shoot on location. But that was kind of a stipulation that Walden Krasna had, and so they hired an on location producer, and it was Harriet Parsons, the daughter of the gossip columnist Luella Parsons. And so she was on set every day, and they kind of used her as a way to keep Fritz Lang like on task. And because he didn't like get along well with women, she was a bit of a taskmaster. And so that was kind of a genius pick to bring her on and just keep him on one course. It was very interesting. Um, yeah. So, anything else you wanted to note?
No, that was it.
Okay, good. Um, I just want to call out one shot because I know we talked about the cinematography, but there's a shot where May is doing the laundry and she's amongst the wash line with all of this laundry hanging off of it, and it's just such a stunning shot that I feel like it deserves its own little nod because it's just, I mean, it's like a photograph and it's so beautiful, and then they return to it when Marilyn Monroe comes in, and yeah, just felt like I had to mention that one because it's so good. Um,
Yeah, good that you mentioned that as well, because what I was reading something or sharing something with Fritz Lang talking about how for an actor that is an incredibly complicated shot to actually film for an actor, and he actually praised Barbara Stanwyck for doing that scene as well as she did. He said the idea where you're kind of doing something and you know having a dialogue with someone else. He said it's more
yeah,
difficult than you think it is.
yeah. and she does a great job, and it looks gorgeous. So very, very cool. Um, all right, well then that's it for Clash by Night. Film noir, maybe, maybe not.
Film noir-ish.
Yeah, adjacent, if nothing else. Uh, but I think it's a great showcase for Barbara Stanwyck nonetheless, and um, she kind of brings a noir character to it in a way with
Right. That's
just the
definitely part of it
ennui.
as well, because you have the queen of noir in this kind of dark, moody movie, and so it makes you think of noir. But yeah, if you like Barbara Stanwyck or you like Fritz Lang, I think you can get a lot from this movie. If you're a fan of Robert Ryan, maybe not so much. I think he did better work in other things, probably.
Go watch Bad Day at Black Rock.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, for if you love either of those two, I think it's worth watching just for that reason, to see both of them, uh, just doing work that defines what you know of them.
Yeah, and it's so early for Marilyn that you can see it's almost like pre-stardom Marilyn, so you can see sort of like her beginnings, which I think is interesting. And it's also the first film of Keith Andes, who plays Joe, who basically has to act alongside her. And he's a little over the top in this, but I mean, he would go on to be in a ton of stuff from like Tora to like I think Dog Day Afternoon or And Justice for All is what he was in. And so yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of beginnings here that are that lead to very interesting careers. So I think it's worth checking out, whether you think it's noir or not. I mean, it's a fun film to sit through at least once.
I would agree with that.
Did you get it from the library?
I did get it from the library.
Okay,
It certainly wasn't streaming anywhere.
yeah. No, I had to pay I think $9 to rent it.
Wow. I have to
Yeah,
admit, it's not worth $9.
yeah. I probably could have bought it for $9 if I had looked, but I traveling and I didn't get the time to find it. So
I'm glad you watched it multiple times. If I rent it for $9, I watch it like 12 times.
yeah.
I'll get that money's worth.
All right. Well, I think next week we're going to right the ship a little bit because we're going to talk about the Blue Dahlia, George Marshall's 1946 film that is hands down noir. You have Veronica Lake again. You have Alan Ladd again. So that's going to be really a heavy noir week, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Love it.
So uh, let's move on to what we watched this week.
Yeah, I watched some things this week. So I went to the theater to go see Tron Ares,
Ooh,
which I wanted to see in the theater. I felt like if you're going to see it, you should go see it there. And much like Clash by Night, it is just a stunning movie to look at. Um, and I just think the visually and sonically, I mean, the soundtrack's done by Nine Inch Nails. I- it's that alone, I think, is worth the price of admission just to see it and hear it. It's really great in that way. Story itself fairly simple. I actually enjoyed it, but I have to say, I have never seen the other two Tron movies. I was never a fan of Tron. Like I remember even as a kid thinking that the original Tron was boring as hell. Like it never moved me. So I went into
yeah.
this one kind of blind, just thinking it'll be cool to watch. And it was. You don't need to watch the other two necessarily. You can kind of know about them. And there's a couple of nods to the other ones, particularly the original. But not seeing the originals won't have much of an effect necessarily on seeing this movie. Um,
Okay,
but
good to know.
nice little warning about our future AI overlords and things like that, like the idea of how technology can go awry. So I appreciated
Mhm.
that part as well. Um, yeah, it was a decent watch and definitely a movie worth seeing in the theater, I thought.
Did Jared Leto bring it down at all,
See,
or is that a good role for him?
I kind of like Jared Leto. There you go. I said it. I,
Wow.
I don't have a problem with Jared Leto. And he is pretty good in this because he's supposed to be someone that's obviously a computer code, and so he does that really well. He doesn't need to emote all that much, so it's good for him. He's just there to look beautiful, which he does. I went to go see it with my son, and even my son's like said something about like how how uh how Jared Leto is easy on the eyes or something. Like not in that way. He's not from the 1940s, but something
Yeah.
about the idea was he said something about his hair. He was like, his hair looks great. I'm like, yeah, like Jared Leto's is a good looking guy. What do you can't deny it. He still look, and it's true. He could play a computer simulation because he still looks like he's 30, even though he's 50. So it actually makes perfect sense. Anyway,
Always be Jordan Catalano to me.
it's true. It's true. I also finally watched The Materialists, which dropped
Oh,
on
good.
HBO Max, and I watched that. And I put it on with the idea that I was going to watch a little bit of it, and that I probably would go to watch something that I was watching, something else that I was already watching. I was like, I'll go back to that because I wasn't sure I was going to like The Materialists. And I have to say, I ended up just sitting there and watching the whole thing, and I liked it a lot more than I expected to. Uh, yeah, I wasn't sure what the movie was going to be. It ended up being more than I thought. I'll put it that way. And I was yeah, I found it pretty moving. I thought it was a a nice new take on a rom-com in a way, and a nice exploration of just the kind of shit show that we live in nowadays of how people see all these things. Um and yeah, and obviously as someone who's not 6 feet tall, it was a little depressing, not gonna lie.
You gonna get that surgery?
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that, but it is a little depressing. I'm not, just to see yeah, how we see the world now. It's not great.
Yeah. Why? I saw when I got home last night, I saw that had dropped on HBO, and I remembered how much it just stuck with me. Like because now it's sticking with me again. I've been thinking about it this morning, and it's like, I don't know what it is about that movie, but it seems so on its surface, just like the way they marketed it was just a rom-com. And when you go see it, it's not just that, but there's depth to it that I can't quite explain that just kind of like implanted itself in
Yeah,
me.
I'm really glad you said that because I was feeling the exact same way, that I can't quite put my finger on why it felt like more than what I was expecting it to be, but it is. And she
Yeah.
really taps into something about about yeah, it just feels very much that it taps into a feeling of a moment that we live in now and reflects who we are in a deeper way that I was not expecting. And yeah, it really did stay with me.
Love Celine's song so much. Uh, yeah, she's so good. Wow.
And
Another love triangle.
right. Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
to be her jam. Uh and then finished the week, I watched Fistful of Dynamite on Netflix,
House of Dynamite.
which is it? It should be called Fistful of Dynamite. It's way better. That's a way better title.
Well, that
Let's look
makes
up
it
if
more
there's ever a
exciting
movie
than it
called
actually
Fistful of
is.
Dynamite, because there should definitely be House of Dynamite,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's a fine title. Um, yeah, this one, I actually think I had the opposite feeling that I had from The Materialists, where it has everything that you would expect, and it's very engrossing until it's not. That I think it kind of drops the ball at the end. I just think not having I understand what they're trying to do, and not to be like my father, but not having any resolution to the movie, I just feel like you have to have something. You have to give us something.
It's a bit like Clash by Night in that it's all of this build up and anticipation. Everything's being telegraphed, and then there's very little payoff.
Yeah, I actually can't believe how little payoff there was. Like I just did not expect that. I mean, anything, even a mushroom cloud, something. I just needed
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
I really, yeah, normally I'm not that crazy about open-ended things. But yeah, it almost feels lazy where they'll give you all this stuff, but not actually give you any idea of where we end up. Because these are hard choices, and terrible things have to be decided and lived through. And I would have liked to have seen some kind of aftermath of what that was.
It's almost like it fades to black and Don't Stop Believin' starts playing. Like you just don't know.
Well, I will say, even in that though, you can have your own feelings about what's going to happen.
Right.
But in this,
This, you know.
you know what's happening, and you actually
Yeah.
want to see the response to it. Like that's where the tension of the movie is. Like, what are we going to do? Like, what do you do? And I thought that that's what we would get, and we don't. We just get the whole thing happening. So yeah, it was very shocking to me. But again, I was riveted the entire time that I was watching it. And I think maybe that's why the ending was so frustrating, because I feel like, especially in Catherine Bigelow's hands, where it's like she could give you something. You definitely could get a good second half to that movie. And she's more than capable of giving it to you. So yeah, I was just surprised.
To me, the payoff is like, at least for me personally, is like the movie. It's almost like it walks off the screen because I am like riddled with anxiety now about this. And so like I'm living the rest of the movie because who knows if like a nuclear missile is headed toward us at any moment
Yeah.
in this day and age. All right. Believe it or not, I actually watched a movie. I haven't had a lot of time, but and it's completely out of left field. I watched Christopher Robin, the movie Ewan McGregor stars in about Christopher Robin, kind of based on the son of A. A. Milne, and it was really wonderful. Just have you seen it?
I actually don't think I have. I know it, and I feel like I would have seen it. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It is not the thing you would expect me to bring to this show, but Laura wanted to
No,
watch
not at
it.
all. I mean, did
Laura
was
loves.
someone else watching it? You just happened to be there, or did you actually choose it?
Well, we were in a hotel and Laura said, I want to watch this film. And so I said, okay, I'll watch it. And it was just really wonderful. It's kind of the story of Christopher Robin. By the way, they do an amazing job. I don't know if it's puppetry or CGI, but basically all of the characters from 100 Acre Wood come to life. And they don't look like cartoons or anything. I mean, Pooh looks like a teddy bear that's like hanging around and walking around, and it's really well done. Christopher Robin sort of outgrows them. Laura told me this is from the books. I don't know. I haven't read those books, but he goes on to live his life, and he kind of gets stuck in like a corporate job, and he has to make this decision about laying people off, and um, just it sort of like unconsciously summons Winnie the Pooh, who like rekindles the creativity and childlike wonder in him. Uh, he reconnects with his family. His wife is played by Agent Carter. Can't think of her name. Haley Atwell, and it's very British. It's very childlike, and it's just a lot of fun. I love Ewan McGregor, and I yeah, I just think it's really really good. And I've in perfect casting, Eeyore is voiced by Brad Garrett, so it's like perfect. Oh, what a day! Like it's so good. So I highly recommend it if you haven't seen.
That's
Oh,
great.
and mind blowing thing is that it was co-written by Alex Ross Perry, who is the director of the new Pavements documentary that came out. He has written That Smell, Queen of the World, worked with Elizabeth Moss a lot, very independent filmmaker. And he wrote this Winnie the Pooh movie, which blows my mind. But I'm very, very happy that he did because it's very good and he's very good. So it was really cool to see.
How
So
about that?
definitely check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, again, very hard to find family movies. So I'd love to throw that one on. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you'll really like it. I don't know if it's on Disney. That's probably where we
It
watched
probably
it.
is.
So, but that's the only thing I got to watch. As I was telling you before we started recording, the old movie theater opened up a block away from my house last week's. I'm going to have a lot to report next week for sure. I'm very excited to spend all of my free time there. So, but it's not an AMC, which means I have to buy non A-list tickets, and I'm in addition to that $26 a month I'm spending, I'll probably have to spend.
That's rough. Yeah, I'm struggling to figure out. As I said, I get my 2 movies a month. I'm trying to figure out which ones to go see. Because I was interested in Nuremberg. I was interested in that movie Anniversary, which seems very interesting. But The Running Man's also coming out.
Tom Cruise loved it. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but he was there with his popcorn.
I didn't, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
He's probably jealous that it wasn't him in that movie. But yeah, so a lot of things come out. I'm trying to figure out what I want to go see.
It's that time of year. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of things worth watching.
Well, we thought
hitting the
that 2
theaters
weeks
soon.
ago. So who knows? Who can say?
I mean, who cares what the box office says? I think we'll find a lot of the things interesting. So
That's true.
I think we'll have a lot to report on the show. I'm looking forward to seeing Begonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos film.
Right, that too. So that's out as well.
That's playing down the street. So as soon as we get done here, I'm probably going to go see that. I'm very excited about. But now, you know what? You have me thinking about Tron. I completely forgot about that because it came out a month ago, and I really want to see that in a theater. So
yeah, the fact that it was still out, I wasn't sure it would still be there, and it was there on a Tuesday. It's like Discount Tuesday, so I grabbed my son. I was like, let's go check it out. So
yeah, I think I might see that either today or tomorrow. Maybe I might put Begonia off if Tron's still playing. I wish it were at IMAX, but just a big screen is fine. So yeah, so thanks for reminding me. All right, well, that's it for another episode. Be sure to come back next week when we are going to talk about the Blue Dahlia. Very exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. So join us then. So long.
As always, thanks for listening to the Weekly Movie Throwdown. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And for even more from us, visit moviethrowdownpod.com or connect with us on social media. We're Movie Throwdown on Letterboxd and at Movie Throwdown Pod everywhere else.